Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Going to be talking about a movie today, Not for Resale, a video game store documentary directed by Kevin J. James. Now, I've already reviewed this movie on my website, but I'm going to be talking about some different aspects of the movie for this video review. And so hang with me. And real quick, I'm going to talk about some other, I'm a big fan of video game documentaries. As a matter of fact, I got this shirt, this ET shirt, at a screening of Atari Game Over at the Classic Gaming Expo a few years ago. I want to show you a few other video game documentaries just real quick in my collection. Man vs. Snake, which is about a guy named Tim McVeigh who just played Nibbler, a rather obscure arcade game, for hours and hours and hours and hours. Marathon gaming, very inspirational story of Tim McVeigh. Good guy with the unfortunate name of the same name as the bomber, the Oklahoma City bomber, and I'm sure he hears that a lot, but Tim McVeigh is a great guy. Just an excellent documentary, very inspirational. And The King of Arcade, starring arcade champion and arcade owner, high score champ, I should say, Richie Knuckles. And I've got this one, as you can see, signed by the cast, Billy Mitchell, Steve Wiebe, Joel West, the late Joel West, and Walter Day, King of the Arcades, very cool documentary. And of course, The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, where Steve Wiebe and Billy Mitchell fight it out for the high score on Donkey Kong. And not a real, there's a lot of, they play with the facts a lot of bit in this movie, but it's still a lot of fun, has a lot of Hollywood drama. And I have the Gaming Historian Volume 1, featuring some of his episodes, plus some exclusive content. Hopefully he'll do a Volume 2. I don't think he has yet. If he has, put it in the comments below. Anyway, so we're here to talk about Not for Resale, a video game store documentary directed by Kevin James, who was kind enough to send me a review code. I watched the movie on Vimeo through my Xbox 360 on my widescreen TV. Just a beautiful, crystal clear film, nicely shot, a lot of different camera angles and indoor and outdoor locations. It's not a stodgy documentary, given the topic of video games, as one would hope. It's a fun documentary. It is a little sad because it talks about the death of physical media, but you know, it talks about the positives and negatives of the death of physical media and the positives of and negatives of, you know, digital games, streaming. And the movie is indeed about, you know, the rise of, you know, people playing games streaming and through digital downloads instead of on physical media, and that's definitely the way the industry is going. Now, it talks to, you know, it is a video game store documentary, so it does talk, interview a number of video game store owners, including several of my friends. Joe Santulli, who runs the Digital Press store in New Jersey. I have toured the Digital Press store, including going into he gave me the grand tour, including in the basement. And it's an amazing place in there, and it's kind of like a museum down there, museum/storage. And fittingly enough, Joe Santulli also is a co-founder of the National Video Game Museum in Frisco, Texas, which is about 45 minutes from where I live. Now, Joe is in the movie quite a bit. He gives his perspective on the death of physical media, what that's going to do for video game store retail going forward, and the concerns with that. And he does a really good job in the movie. They also talked to James Ainsworth of Thrill House Games in Oklahoma. Tulsa, I believe. Anyway, I met James at the Oklahoma Video Game Expo years ago and have talked to him several times throughout the years at conventions in Oklahoma. Just a really nice, real humble, real down-to-earth guy. So it was great to see him in this movie, get some publicity for his store. Just a super nice guy. And they also talked to Kelsey Lewin of Pink Gorilla Video Games in Seattle. Kelsey is also a very popular YouTuber and a video game historian. Great seeing her. She's a good friend of mine. It's always nice seeing her at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. And we took a trip to the National Video Game Museum one time and got the grand tour of the back room and everything, and that was a blast. So it was cool to see Kelsey, and as always, Kelsey is always the same. Calm, composed, very knowledgeable, very intelligent. Great seeing her and her friend Frank Cifaldi, who, you know, they're both involved in the Video Game History Foundation. Frank is in the movie as well, and this guy just oozes with intelligence, and, you know, he's very articulate. Great to hear from him as well. So you get a lot of history in this movie, as well as, you know, what's going on today. And there's video game personalities in the movie as well that they interview and that have, comment about, they talk to James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. I would consider him more of an acquaintance than a friend. I always speak to him at video game conventions. The last one I did, where I saw him, last year's Portland Retro Gaming Expo, I walked up to his booth and he said, "Oh, hey Brett, what's going on?" And so he was kind enough to pose with one of my books, which was really cool. Really nice guy, always good to see him. And he talks in the movie about how he likes physical media. He likes being surrounded by DVDs and VHS tapes and all that stuff. But he admits that the convenience of digital downloads is hard to resist. And in one of his videos on his YouTube channel, Cinemasker, he talks about there's a episode he does about Blu-ray, and he talks about how convenient it is to just to download a movie, and sometimes he'll watch the download instead of a movie he has, just for the convenience of it, instead of looking for it and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, he talks about in this movie, Not for Resale, about physical media, the death of physical media, and what that means. And Blake Harris is also on hand to provide some historical perspective. So it's just a great movie with a lot of interesting industry people, a lot of my friends, a lot of people I know. Blake Harris contributed to my first SNES Omnibus book. Awesome to see him. And beyond just talking about the death of physical media, what that's going to mean for video game stores, in the next few years, video game stores are basically going to run out of stuff to sell. Now, obviously, they'll still have Atari games to sell, NES games to sell, but moving forward, they're not going to have used games from current and recent generations because, as the movie says, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, most of those games are going to be digital download, streaming or whatever. And so where's the physical media that they can resell? It's not going to exist. So moving forward with future console generations, there's not going to be as many, recent used games to sell. And that's where places like GameStop and independent stores, that's where they make a ton of their money. So that's going to be a difficult situation moving forward. Now, the movie does talk a lot about the negatives. Like I mentioned, it hurts stores and consumers miss out on the fun of shopping. You go, even like Best Buy and Walmart and places like that today, their physical media sections, their section of DVDs and games and stuff are much smaller than they used to be. So you miss out on the fun of just, going to rent or buy a game. So that's at the store. So that's one of the negatives. And also with digital downloads, they sort of get lost in the shuffle with the ease of producing games today and the ease of distribution. If you're cycling through, looking for a digital game to download, you're cycling through hundreds, maybe thousands of games, and a lot of games can get lost in the shuffle. Now, some of the positives, shelf space. You don't have to worry about shelf space with digital downloads, with streaming games. So people with a small apartment or just don't want to dedicate a big portion of their house to games can still have a lot of games, but in a very small space. Let's see. So cheap for independent programmers, it's very cheap to produce a game. Like Frank Cifaldi says in the movie, independent programmers, just guys and gals in their garage, can produce independent games for Nintendo systems, unheard of in the past before digital games. Another positive, games like Minecraft and some of these games have gone viral. Angry Birds, those games have gone viral and everybody's playing them in the palm of their hands. That would not happen without digital games. Mobile gaming would never have gotten so absolutely popular, so ubiquitous without downloads, without streaming. It just would not exist. Digital downloads in particular for mobile gaming. I mean, these days, almost everybody is a gamer in some sense because you're playing, a game that you've digitally downloaded for free or for 99 cents or whatever on your phone. Traditional handhelds with cartridges or whatever just wouldn't be the same. And the movie in general talks about not only just the positives and negatives of digital games and streaming and all that, and it talks about sort of the history. Digital gaming has been around long enough where there's a little bit of a history on it. Talks about, like I said, why mobile gaming is so popular, and it talks about when digital gaming began taking off with the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, because systems before that and just the storage space, there just wasn't enough storage space for just a whole bunch of digital games. It was slow or impractical and all of that. But beginning with the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, the digital gaming and all that just really started taking off and getting more popular. So the movie talks about a wide variety of angles of this. It's not just about the stores, and it's just not about digital gaming. It's a wide spectrum of topics within, the basics of the fact that physical media is sadly dying off, and that digital downloads and streaming is the wave of the future, and really happening more and more now, especially with younger people. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will put a link in the description below to my written review of the movie that has, covers a lot of the different aspects of the movie that this video does not cover. And I'll put some other links in there as well, like where you can buy the movie. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks to Kevin J. James, director of Not for Resale, for sending me a digital download of the film. And thank you so much for watching, and thank you for liking and subscribing. I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.